What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel that helps animals and another episode of Tarkovology. My name is Omni and I'm hoping to help you with some level 1 gun builds from every trader available. Just for the record, we aren't going to talk about shotguns in this particular video. While I do love them, they are a little bit situational, and at level 1 there really aren't very many good unlocks. I usually wait to employ the 153 or at least some different ammos and different buckshots open up later on, as well as some slug rounds. So that being said, let's move on. If you are pursuing Kappa at all, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be using a bolt action early in the wipe. If this creates issues with your survival rate or your ability to make money, then obviously refrain from doing so. But if you can, you really should be running a bolt action 90% of the time to keep that sniper skill high. You really don't want to be pigeonholed into running a bolt action at level 40 and 45, doing anything beyond Tarkov Shooter Part 8. Okay, so let's get started with the builds and we'll go trader by trader. Prapor is the first, and obviously he has the infantry carbine version of the Mosin. This is probably the most common gun you're going to run into initially, especially a lot of streamers are running this. The LPS cartridge is pretty potent, and if you're going to be running a bolt action, this is one of the two I would recommend. No modifications are necessary, and there's really no reason to run the longer barrel version, since the short barrel version gives you more ergo. You can't really utilize the long barrel or the MOA from it with iron sights anyway. The next gun up is the Keter. It's pretty cheap, it's functional, but it's not my favorite. However, it will work. It is 65 recoil, which is a little bit high for my taste. It does come with a 30 rounder, but the biggest knock on this gun, at least in my opinion, is that you can only purchase a 20 round magazine. 20 rounds when shooting flesh damage is going to go super quick, and it's going to make you super dead most of the time. That being said, the iron sights are pretty clean, so it's not a terrible gun to use, but there is a better option from Proper if you ask me, and it is the PPSH. You'll notice right away the recoil is much lower just straight out of the box. The iron sights are better, and the biggest thing for me when using a flesh damage round is this magazine size. You're getting a 35 round mag as opposed to a 20 or a 30, and on top of that you've got a much better ammunition. This AKBS ammo does about 58 flesh damage. The LRN PC does 66. And the big thing is here, these guys give you a massive minus recoil stat. So this is really good early wipe when you're using a gun with no iron sights, or with iron sights. Minus 15 recoil, minus 10 recoil, those are huge. I tend to lean towards the LRN PC with the extra flesh damage, but this is totally personal preference. Either of these rounds is very good. Once you've got Jager unlocked, you can get them. And this is a great gun early wipe. It doesn't require any modifications, it's relatively cheap. The fire rate is equal to that of the Keter, so it's just all around good stuff. Moving on to Skier, he has two carbines available that are noteworthy. The 8R, everybody's familiar with this gun, obviously. This is a much better gun than it was 2 wipes ago, and that is because the 855 ammunition will reliably penetrate level 3 armor after just a few rounds. Additionally, you can get 30 round magazines for this weapon straight out of the box, and there are some modifications that you can make this gun a little bit better with. This Mark 12 low profile gas block gives you some additional recoil reduction, some ergo, but the most important thing is it gets rid of that massive front sight and allows you to put a optic on the upper receiver. So generally I lean towards the fast fire, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever your personal preference for optic picture is, the ergo differences are marginal at best, so use whatever your personal preference there is. Do keep in mind that some of these 8Rs get picked up without this flash hider on it if you're not buying it from the vendor, so you'll want to make sure you pick one of those up if the one you looted doesn't have that on it. This is all around a very solid gun. It didn't used to be, but it's pretty good now. The other option from Skier is the Vepr KM. This is a 7.62 carbine, and quite honestly, I think this is probably one of the better rounds early wipe. The 7.62 PS. The damage profile is great. The penetration is good compared to just about every other round. You could make an argument for 3.66 being a little bit better, but those platforms are a little bit more difficult to manage. So All in all, I think this is one of the more solid choices, and this gun allows some flexibility as well with some additional attachments. So let's go over those attachments really quickly. The Bastion you get from level 1. That is going to allow you to attach an optic on top of this. Not only that, but it gives you a recoil reduction as well as some additional ergo. The AK-100 polymer grip gives you a tactical slot for a flashlight or a laser if you so choose, and an RK6 is the best foregrip you can buy at level 1. This gives you a slight recoil reduction as well as some additional ergo. So you can pick all those up, throw this on your Vepr KM, and then you team that up with a 30 round mag, and you've got a pretty solid gun for the beginning of the wipe. The knock on the SKS in the beginning of the wipe is the slow reload time. You know, it is running that PS round, but it takes forever to reload those things. And in addition to that, you're only running that 10 round internal mag. So if you can run the Vepr KM instead of the SKS, I generally will recommend doing so. The utility of having the larger mag, faster reload, it's going to get you out of some sticky situations. Moving on to Jager, you can actually unlock Jager straight out of the gate, which you just reveal all those items that are masked in your inventory and in all the traders, and that actually gets you level 2. At that point, you can do the introduction to Jager quest, and he gives you access to 2 weapons that are noteworthy. The first being the OPSKS. This is a 7.62 platform gun, so again, any gun that runs this particular cartridge is going to be fairly effective early wipe. This is a very cheap, a very simple firearm. It has an internal magazine, so you don't need to carry around extra mags, you just carry a stack of bullets. So it's good for maximizing the space you have in your inventory. It does also have a dovetail mount. This dovetail will accept a variety of different sights in the game, many of which are available at level 1. Including a 4x scope. So, you know, if you're running woods or anything medium to long range, if you're going to be doing any early sniping or anything like that, you want to give this gun some consideration, simply because it's one of the first weapons that you can install a decent optic onto. And of course, it's running that 7.62 cartridge. The second gun that he carries is the Gornestay. The 3.66 bolt action. I like this gun a lot personally. It doesn't quite pack as much of a punch as the Mosin does, but the ergo is much higher. The gun is lighter. It goes along the same vein as the OPSKS. It's one of the first ones you can attach an optic with magnification on. So if you're in a situation where you need to get some zoom, these 2 weapons are probably going to be your best bets. The 2 rounds you can run with this gun are really no joke in the early wipe. The FMJ and then the EKO. Damage profiles on both of these are pretty different. The EKO has, I believe it's around 75 or 78 flesh damage, which that's quite a bit in and of itself. The damage on the FMJ, I believe, is 96. And if anybody is unarmored, this will one-tap them in the chest. So that's kind of where that particular round shines. The EKO is a much more flexible round, and I tend to lean towards this one though, because it will go through level 3 armor. You do have to hit them twice, obviously, if you're not hitting them in the head, but it's a little bit more flexibility in terms of the amount of damage it can do to armored targets. So if you're just killing scavs, FMJ might be okay. Just make sure you don't miss. So in terms of the scope, this PLOD is not the greatest scope in the world. You know, the picture on it is a little wonky. It's pretty small, especially compared to the PSO that you can put on the OPSKS. But again, you're getting that bolt action skill, which is oh so important. If you're not concerned with Kappa, don't even bother with the VPO. You know, maybe the Mosin, but totally lean towards the OPSKS if you're looking to do long range hunting and you don't care about your sniper skill. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. That's pretty much all the builds we can do that are productive at level 1. Hopefully this video helps you, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure you like, subscribe, and of course, I'll see you next time.